Hello, this is your captain Mark Rothfield speaking for Club Marine TV. Today we're flying the Candela C-8, an all-new, fully electric hydrofoiling runabout from Sweden. There's plenty of oxygen, there's no tray tables, but you'll notice the fasten the seatbelt sign is on. So strap in and thanks for flying Candela Airlines. Rarely have I looked forward to testing a boat as much as the Candela C-8 since I first saw the craft at the recent Sydney Boat Show. It's said to be the first hydrofoiling runabout of its kind in Australia, but I'm sure more will be coming. Candela itself is a Swedish-based startup that was founded in 2014 to exclusively build hydrofoiling craft, the C-8 and a C-12 ferry. The C-8 won the 2023 European Boat of the Year award. It also set a world record for distance over 24 hours, covering an incredible 420 nautical miles. The previous record was 79 nautical miles set by an electric planing hull over 20 hours. So you see just how far the technology has evolved. First up, let's talk about the foiling system, which is the Candela's major point of difference. At the stern here is a T-foil, which lowers. It contains a torpedo-like motor and also acts as a rudder, so it's got plenty of work to do. Further forward, pretty well on the hull's centre of gravity, is the main wing. It's a single piece. It lowers onto struts to a depth of about 1.5 metres. These foils also can retract for beaching, for trailering, or to operate in planing mode. On their own, wings aren't inherently stable, so there's lots going on in the background to ensure a nice level flight. Sensors around the boat are sending messages to the foils to intuitively adjust the angle of the foil through turns, through chop, and it just maintains that sort of effortless balance control. Candela has designed what it calls a C-pod, which has two magnetic electric motors fore and aft inside that torpedo tube. They provide direct drive to counter-rotating propellers to give you instant torque and efficiency. There's no gears, which means those propellers spin at exactly the same RPM as the motors themselves. Under the floor is a 69 kilowatt battery provided by Swedish car maker Polestar. They could possibly have gone larger, but larger is heavy and heavy is harder to lift, especially as the battery doesn't get lighter like a fuel tank does as you're draining it. Range anxiety is a major hurdle for electric boats to overcome. In the C-8's case, it can achieve 57 nautical miles or 105 kilometres, which is about 2.5 hours run time at the optimum foiling speed of 22 knots. And that distance is plenty for a typical day's boating. After that, a fast charging system can top the battery from 10 to 85% in just 30 minutes, which you can't complain about. On shore power, typically you're looking at about 6.5 to 8 hours, but you just leave the boat on charge overnight. Another important factor for range is light displacement. So the hull and many of the components are built from vacuum-infused carbon fibre. It keeps hull weight down to just 1,750 kilos, which is remarkable for an 8.5 metre boat. You'd expect no less from efficiency fanatics and minimalists like the Swedes. The foils are carbon fibre as well, but they're designed to shear off at a certain breaking point if they hit something hard at high speed. Seaweed, small pieces of debris, even ice won't trouble them in the slightest. Looking around, you get a nice padded sun lounge, a 3-seater lounge facing forward, and 3 carbon fibre bucket seats for the skipper and his co-pilots. The test boat is optioned with a T-top, which I think is essential for boating in Australia. It gives you 195 centimetres of headroom. It can have a canvas extension if it's raining. Candela also offers a hardtop version which you'd consider if you're living in colder climates. It has a sunroof, so you can open it up, but just gives you a little bit more all-weather protection. Overall, the hull design reminds me of a classic European sports car with elegant, straight, clean-cut lines, but also just some nice curvature to improve the aerodynamic efficiency. Underneath the waterline, the hull has a fine V-entry that then gradually tapers aft. It gives the boat some soft riding sections when you're operating in planing mode. Also has twin steps, so that helps break the water friction, the tension, and get the boat up onto those foils just that little bit quicker. There's also a pronounced stern overhang, so underneath the hull. That gives the rear foil just that little bit of space to come up out of the water. Beam is 2.5 metres, which means you can legally trail this boat without a permit. At the very least, I'd be using a floating dock because it somehow seems sacrilege to be anti-fouling it. That said, the foils do raise completely out of the water. Joining me now is Chris Rones from importer Carbon Yachts. And Chris, I haven't had this much fun since the Manly hydrofoils as a kid. When did you discover Candela?
So I've had my eye on Candela for about 5 years now. That was back when they released the C-7, which was effectively their prototype. What you see here in the C-8 has been out for 2.5 years and is effectively an end product of what that was then.
How's the reaction been since Sydney Boat Show?
The reaction's been amazing. Anyone who sees the boat, let alone gets on board, is just in awe of it. You know, it's funny when you see a foiling boat come past, you become a paparazzi almost straight away.
What is the price point, and also who do you see as your sort of typical buyer?
So landed the price point is about $750,000 in Australia. The typical buyer has actually surprised us. It's been a much broader market and very demographic than what we expected. We sort of expected to begin with it would be EV enthusiasts and environmentalists that were coming for the boat, but it's actually had a broader appeal more to sort of anyone who has interest in new tech and innovation. So we're seeing a lot of interest from people like yourself, Mark, who are seasoned sailors and are able to appreciate the lack of weight, the lack of noise, and also the lack of smell and odour and the smooth ride.
Thanks, Chris. Time to get this baby off the ground, as they say. First step is to engage the foils, and that couldn't be easier. On the screen right in front of you are the 4 options: harbour, shallow, planing and foiling. In this case we want foiling. You push that button and they automatically position. You hear them lock in and it shows you that the foiling is engaged and active. The second step is to remember your seatbelts. Yes, the nation that gave us Volvo cars has also given us seatbelts in boats, just as a precaution. Clip them on. We don't have airbags, but I do have an inflatable life jacket as a backup as well. Into gear now. That direct drive means straight into gear and instant torque. There's no delay, no grinding, and we're underway. Like all electric boats, you can drive this in displacement boats for long distances. It's very quiet, it's very simple. In front of me, it feels very much like a Tesla car. It has this 15-inch screen giving me all the information I need, including all the technical data for the engines. The windscreen, you get a great view out of. It's wraparound, so it not only provides wind protection, it's streamlined, but you also get a terrific view, which is important when you are flying along at sort of 22, 27 knot speeds. You can see really well out the side and clearly in front of you. So let's give it a go. The key thing before you get on the foiling, make sure you've got a nice clear runway like we have. You centre the rudder, it actually tells you where your rudder is. So make sure that's on 0% and you can just go straight to full throttle. 7.5, 8 knots now, it's just starting to plane. 11 knots now, 12 knots. You can feel it lift. There's the transition. It's as simple as that. It's back now. Those sensors have automatically adjusted everything. There was very little bow lift. Lovely and smooth. You cannot believe how quiet it is now. All that spray that you're used to getting thrown out to the side. We're riding right above all that. There's quite a bit of chop out here. We're in the main part of Sydney Harbour and it's just striding across it beautifully. It's such a weird feeling. We're riding with just the slightest motion. Those wings are working intuitively, seamlessly, controlling us. It's tracking beautifully as well. A little bit of ferry chop just coming up now, so we'll see how it goes over that. No adjustment to speed. And straight across. Normally if I was driving a planing runabout, my hand would be on the throttle, I'd be worried, I'd be adjusting, I'd be thinking about trim. In this case, the software's thinking about trim for me. This is one of the great driving experiences. Honestly, you will not get the smile off your face. In 40 years of boat testing, I've never experienced this kind of performance, this much fun and pleasure that foiling can give you. It's a zen-like experience to be up here above everything, to be able to talk normally, no fumes, no hassles, and no worries driving it. The other really clever feature when it comes time to land is that you simply need to back off the throttle. The sensors will automatically detect that you're decelerating and they'll switch into landing mode so you can get a nice, safe, dry touchdown. So back off now. Ideally you need to be facing into the breeze or downwind. And they do exactly what they say, just a nice, easy transition. And we are now a normal displacement electric boat. Electric boats, like electric cars, may not appeal to everyone, especially as there is a price premium. $750,000 isn't exactly cheap for an 8.5 metre boat, but you have to factor in it is low maintenance, it is very frugal to run, and it is blissfully quiet when you're operating it. So all those things have a value. You don't need to be a pilot to drive it, nor do you need to handle it with kids' gloves. In fact, it is very much a conventional family runabout that just happens to fly. Today, I think I've driven the future. I'm Mark Rothfield for Club Marine TV. Thanks for watching.